Good afternoon, doctor.
Good afternoon. How are you?
I'm not fine.
What seems to be the problem?
I have a lot of pain in the the upper abdominal area.
Okay. Which is just around the heart?
Yes.
Just explain to me some of the symptoms.
I have problems in breathing.
Mhm.
I don't easily get sleep, and even then I pant a lot when I just walk shortly something.
Really? Does your heart race a lot? A lot. Okay. So you might be experiencing some issues with your heart, but let me just diagnose you properly. Let me see what we can do. It's worse than I thought. I think we are going to have to do a surgery.
Surgery?
Yes, do you know what a surgery is? Now, a surgery is a medical step that us practitioners do. We have to get into the gist of what's happening inside your body. For example, now I've looked at the conditions around your heart, even just by hearing your heartbeat. It's beating too fast. So meaning there is a lot of cholesterol around your heart.
But is there any other test you can do? I see a surgery. You know there's a surgery in this life.
They do, but for very complicated issues like yours, we need to do a surgery. But trust me, to be a very minor one, very little pain and everything. The cost.
I mean, a lot of pain. I came here when I was in pain, but not as much as what I'm feeling right now. What's that?
Okay, let's take a look at the X-ray. Oh my god. Oh my god. It's actually worse than I thought. Let me just look at the doctor. Let me look at the X-ray report and see. Madam, I don't know whether you're ready to hear this news. Now, the operation was very successful.
Mm-hmm.
The 8 hours were worth it. Your money was worth it.
Mm-hmm.
It breaks my heart to say that this hospital was actually being negligent.
What? On my 2.5?
Exactly, madam. We are terribly sorry.
No.
Actually, and that's not the worst news.
Hey,
the worst news is
there's
that,
more to it.
yes, the reason why you've been feeling pain is because you have cotton next to your heart. Cotton and a pair of scissors.
Hey! And that's what I paid 2.5 for.
Yes. But madam, we pray that you don't sue us, please.
No.
We pray that you don't
Let me talk to my lawyer. I'm going to come out to my
Madam,
lawyer.
wait.
No.
Most people in Uganda have been victims of medical negligence. They don't even know their rights. They don't even know they can sue a hospital. They don't even know they can sue a doctor. Doctors are supposed to be of the highest level of discretion, highest level of expertise, and highest level of profession. Once they do not do that, and let's say they prescribe the wrong drugs for you, they prescribe wrong medication, they operate you, and you're not feeling okay, or they even happen to leave a pair of equipment inside you, then that is going to be very detrimental to you. Medical negligence is a very virgin area. It's very untouched, because I decided to get into this whole get-up just to show you the severity of the issue. But trust me, this is going to be something you're going to learn from. And the moment you get to know all your rights, the moment you get to know the laws presiding over medical negligence and how you can enforce your rights in courts of law, or how doctors can actually get in line, then stay tuned and let's go. My neighbor's principle.
Yes.
But a duty of care comes in that, maybe if you're a doctor and I come to you, I say, maybe I'm consultatory, I've come with this, I have a mild headache, and you give me drugs for an HIV patient or a cancer patient, and it causes me severe harm.
Yes.
That means you breached your duty of care to me. So there's duty of care, then there's also breach of that duty of care. Then number 3 is harm came out of the duty of care. So now it will mean that I may have to sue you for a breach of duty of care. I don't know whether I don't know whether they teach that in medical school. Maybe you could tell the viewers.
Oh yes, of course. This I think this is among the repeated themes throughout medical school. because it's the worst disaster that can happen is you causing harm to the patient. And of course, this is intended to be avoided. That's why we're in medical school, to improve life. So this is repeated through medical school, your duty of care and the standards of care.
Okay. Now we have what's called the legal framework in terms of medical negligence. I don't know, you're aware of the Constitution?
Yeah, definitely.
And everyone's aware of the Constitution. But the Constitution, we have the Penal Code Act, Cap 120. There you should know that it has laws in which any citizen of Uganda can breach, and you're liable to imprisonment. Whether you're a doctor, you counsel, whether you're the president, whether you're anyone, whether you're Chagulani. Okay, I don't know that I should have, I don't know if I should mention Chagulani, but I think for him it's a special case. Now, we also have the Allied Health, Health, and I think you need to compare that for me.
So you have Allied Health Professions Act. You have the Uganda Medical Dental Practitioners Act. You have the Nurse and Midwifery Act. Yes.
Okay. And all of those govern. Okay, do they encompass all doctors or medical practitioners? Maybe you could give.
Oh yes. So you find that to the public, everyone in the health facility is called Musawo, which translates to doctor. But we have cadres of doctors. We have
hierarchy.
Yeah, not really hierarchy, but it's a team with each person having a different specialty. So we have the medical doctors and the dental surgeons that fall under one professional body. Then you have the nurses and the midwives fall under the next body. Then allied health refers to all the other professionals within the health sector. Yeah. So those are the categorizations.
Like technicians,
the lab technicians, biomedical engineers, all those fall in allied health.
Okay. So now, now that people know about the framework, people want to now dive into the gist of what are the reasons as to why there's medical negligence. They've understood why there's medical negligence. They now want to know the reasons. As a medical practitioner, why are there some doctors who mess up? Why could the errors come up? Because doctors are human. So if I'm called as a doctor to inject someone at 4 a.m. and I've been working from 6 a.m. the previous day, I'm bound to be negligent. So could you give us some of the reasons why, as a medical doctor, what are the reasons why?
Okay, maybe just to give a clear difference between medical negligence and malpractice.
Yeah.
So medical negligence is accidental. You understand it? There's an element of accident. Well, medical malpractice has an element of intent. You almost have an idea of what you're doing that is wrong. And you keep going, you go on. And there are other subsets of. But in medical negligence, as I said, it's an accident. And we'll look at what makes you error. And doctors are not exempted. As you have mentioned, we have the workload. You find that Uganda's doctor to patient ratio is about 1 to about 25,000. Target recommended is 1 to 1,000. We're way outside the recommended thresholds. You have the incentives because you have a low pay, despite the government lip service that they're going to improve it. It has not changed. So you have dualism where people work here and do another shift somewhere else, and then you have the lack of supplies. For you to make a clear medical decision, you need a minimum level of supplies and tests which are not available. So sometimes you have to think outside the box and make a judgment, you understand, based on clinical knowledge. And sometimes you may not pin the diagnosis. The workload sometimes will wear you out, you understand, and you make a mistake. And so you can understand from that angle of resource deprived conditions we are in, why mistakes are prevalent. And this is common. You find that they do not find a clear like statistic of how many medical negligence cases we deal with, but you find from the Uganda Medical Dental Practitioners Council, for only the medical doctors and the dental surgeons, that we have had an increase. You find that in 2018, 54% of the cases they had were due to medical negligence by the ethics committee, and then last year it was about 64%. And,
so it increased.
Yeah, in the study of Eva Kakumba, she interviewed about 10 facilities, and of these, 5 out of 10 were already dealing with negligence cases with the councils, and 3 out of 10 had cases in court, and 2 out of 10 had received notices for intention to sue. So
Wow.
it's common because of the reasons I have. Yeah.
Now, Meddie, I need to be a bit hard on you. I'm speaking from the point of a normal citizen, because Meddie, last year, over 50 cases were reported to the Uganda Medical Board. Now, of all these 50 cases, many of them reported that the doctors were being negligent to them. But the people want to also know, what standard of care should a doctor have? Because ideally, if I come to you, a doctor, Dr. Rutaisyre, or some other doctor, and I put my life in your hands, ideally, a doctor in your ethic and profession, you should have the critical standard of care to see that if this guy is being diagnosed for stage 1 cancer, I need to know what medication to give him. So the people also want to know, they might be those who are out there who are quaking in fear. They're not confident enough to come out and say, look, a doctor did this to me, and I don't think that was the right thing. He has maybe gone online. So they want to know how they can be remedied, and they also want you to explain to them the issue of standard of care. They want to know that.
Okay. I could explain what it means without taking through what, because taking you through it to make you a doctor. If I take you through the standard of care of how you manage cancer, of how you manage it to make you a doctor.
True.
The video is not that long. So standard of care, you find that there are minimum expectations of a reasonable doctor that they should do in given circumstances. You can understand how this can be complicated.
Yeah.
Medicine is as amorphous and unpredictable as life.
True.
And giving a clear dictation that when this happens, do this. When this happens, do this, makes it very hard because there are many possible variations. But we have attempted over time. We have the Uganda clinical guidelines, and these are updated regularly. I think they are, okay, we have not updated so regularly. We have the most recent 2016, and this goes on to try to almost prescribe what a minimum reasonable doctor would have done in this condition. For example, if it's malaria, what is expected of you? And this helps us to form a standard of what is expected to be done by a reasonable doctor. But there are variations, and one of the challenges is medicine is growing very fast.
It's never just a fixed thing.
And very wide. You find that you have specialists of almost each part of your body. There's a specialist for the cornea, there's a specialist for the nose. You understand? So if you're a general practitioner, you understand, you expect to do so much, and there are so many guidelines, there are so many recommendations. You can tell from COVID, that we have had mixed evidence. Someone will say hydroxychloroquine works, and someone doesn't. So sometimes the evidence is not clear itself, and that causes a conflict of what you should do.
Yeah. Meddie, there is a friend of mine, as you conclude that point, a friend of mine whose uncle went to an eye clinic, I think for purposes of clarity, Dr. Agawal's clinic, an eye clinic for opticians. He claims that his uncle went there, they worked on his eye, he actually went for laser eye surgery, and he left there worse than when he came. This guy actually confided in me and told me about all of this, but he wanted to know what kind of redress is there for him in the law. But before I get into the law bit of it, they want to know the medical part of it. What kind of remedy can he seek? I mean, can he go to the medical board and report? I don't know. He's in dismay. Maybe you could advise us as an expert.
Okay, from the snapshot of the case, it's hard for me to choose a side. You understand? There are many complexities within that could sway the judgment. So if the person believes, you understand, that this was medical negligence, then there is a foremost if you Google the Uganda Medical Network Practitioners Council website, there is a clear guideline on how you submit a complaint, who you submit it to, how you can follow up, and when you should expect a feedback. If you go to Uganda Medical Network Practitioners Council website, in the resources, you find that. Okay. Because those cases are complicated, and I think one of the challenges of medical negligence is that people expect that every time you come to hospital, you should get better, and that's what we all want. It doesn't always happen.
True. That's a very good point. So, Meddie, as we dive more into our discussion, people need to know that there are laws governing this thing. There is no clear-cut or streamlined law when it comes to medical negligence. However, there are past decided cases. For example, we know there's a case of Kimosho.
Yes.
Kimosho versus Wakupita. This person sued Wakupita, who was a doctor, sued Case Clinic, and also sued Uganda Medical was it Uganda medical chambers, so her skin and everything. However, the doctor gave her medication, but did not give her contraceptives, or did not give her advice that this, the drug is called
Methotrexate.
methotrexate. Methotrexate causes abortion in women. That's number one. But she did not give, the doctor did not give this lady contraceptives, or did not give her advice that, you know what, if you take this drug and you conceive during it, you're going to get a miscarriage. So when you look at the issues that were framed by both counsel for the defense and the plaintiff, one of them was that the doctor was negligent in giving his advice. What would you have to say about that? Shouldn't standard of care and medicine and shouldn't standard of care come in when a doctor is giving even like the most basic of drugs, especially given his specialization, either dermatologist or cardiologist? What would you have to say about that?
So I think one of the hallmarks of drugs, when you're learning about drugs in medicine, that every substance, every drug can be a poison. So you really need to exercise a lot of caution on every drug, and it's one of the major learning points in medicine. And so we find that drugs are classified in this case on how they affect pregnant women. You know, pregnant women, because of the rapidly growing child, drugs can affect. And you know, children are very delicate creatures. So we have drugs classified according to how they affect, from those that should never be given to pregnant women, to those which could be given if the benefits outweigh the risks, to those which are okay. So you find that methotrexate is up there, you understand, in drugs that should not be given to pregnant women, and is expected. Any reasonable practitioner should caution, first inquire if the patient is pregnant. You understand? And this will not be just from inquiry; it could also be from actually doing the test to prove that the woman is not pregnant, and then to giving contraceptives to all women of reproductive age, that they don't conceive well on the medication. So this is what's stipulated in the standards of care, and it's expected. So in this case, I don't want to repeat the proceedings of the case, but just looking at that detail only, it would qualify for negligence. Looking for that detail only. Yes.
You know, the funny thing with the law is that lawyers will look for those small loopholes and everything. As we wrap up just this, it's as a medical practitioner, is it imperative that they include medicine and the law in law school to rather in med school, to give doctors who are impending to come out of med school a clear picture of whether they can be sued, what kind of standard of care, that kind of thing?
So I think, of course, the biggest room is always one for improvement, which we could improve what about law the doctors know. But I think there are already a couple of things that are taught about medicine and the law. You'll find them within the medical ethics courses. You find them within the forensics courses. It could help to give actual precedents of some of the cases. They could be discussed in the lectures, and I think that would help to make the picture clearer for everyone that we are liable, and we should exercise more caution, which I know they're already exercising caution. Because everyone's intention is to get the patient better. But I agree, we could have more of these precedents cases discussed at school, so that it could set a caution for everyone.
You know what's amazing, Meddie? There was this case, the case which actually brought out negligence is a case called Donnelly versus Stevenson. This case happened in Scotland, where a guy briefly went to a Scottish bar. He ordered for a beer. Upon the first sip, he noticed that it had smell particles in it. Of course, this is no way connected to medical negligence, but this case gave birth to the principles of duty of care negligence. Amazingly, in this case, there was, in the House of Lords, who were presiding over this case, said that manufacturers and people who deal with daily lives, now medical practitioners, are in this docket. He said that these people should be given the biggest, I would say, doubt, because they literally hold our lives in their hands. So actually, I'm with you on that, because a doctor does not just, I would say it's a calling from God, because someone just doesn't wake up and then just say, I want to be a doctor. There are many procedures for you to become a doctor. So to viewers out there, yes, medical negligence exists, but we should not rush to just pinning doctors down and everything. Yes, we have the Constitution, we have Section 101 of the Evidence Act. We have many things which can implicate doctors, but we have to understand that these guys are human. Because if a doctor is delivering a baby at 5 a.m. in the morning, and at 6 a.m. he has to inject someone else, and he just injects the wrong vein and maybe injects somewhere else, it shouldn't be pinned on him exactly. We should have what are called alternative dispute resolution processes. I don't know they have that in the medical councils or chambers. Do you have alternative, like mediation, litigation, or would you want to see that more?
I think from the word go, when you're interacting with the patient, you're already having that conversation. In the event that something goes wrong, you find that majority of the cases that go to court or go outside the hospital is because they have had a failure with communication. You understand? Either they found the doctor rude, or they understand. So most times within the hospital, majority of these cases are settled within the hospital. Before even getting out of the hospital, a mistake happens. You sit down with the patient, you explain, you have a conversation with the patient, and these mistakes, because they're rare, you understand? Okay, not so rare, but because they're not common, you understand? Most patients, if you are with the patient from the start, you explain to the patient from the start, they would understand.
Yeah.
Because it's not your intent. You understand?
To cause them harm.
So for those cases that go outside the hospital, you could still have mediations somewhere before, because court is lengthy, 3 to 5 years. It's expensive. With no, I don't want to mean like, but we don't want to give lawyers so much money.
Our lawyers given a lot of money.
No, but we don't want to settle this in court with lawyers.
Yeah.
And
also it's shaming to the doctor, because in this case of Kimosho versus Wakupita, Case Clinic had to actually pay 20 million to this lady. And by the way, to even make it worse, in this case, I'd forgotten to mention, this is what we call vicarious liability. Now, if I'm suing Nakasero Hospital, or I'm suing Mulago, or a doctor who is working for Mulago Hospital does something bad to me, I'll go for what's called a deep pocket theory. I'm just going to go for the person who has the more money. Meaning, I'm going to sue Nakasero Hospital, who has hired meddie, and hence, Nakasero may even pay me 300 million in costs of suits. I'm going to ask for exemplary damages. I'm going to ask for just general damages. Now, all of this will save a lot of time if we just settle it in litigation. Actually, most of my lawyer friends are not going to like this, because litigation, yes, you get money from it and everything, but it saves a lot of time. And even before you go to court processes, even before you go to the actual court process, the judge will ask you, did mediation fail? Did arbitration fail? These first preliminary things, joint schedule memorandum and everything. Then when you say everything failed, then you now go to court.
I agree with you, but I think we need to look at the basics of what's the intention
of the doctor,
of the patient. And I think we're looking for two things: if possible, compensation, but most importantly, we want this not to happen again.
Yeah.
So we want disciplinary action to be taken, and court can deliver this. You understand? But it's a long process. Yeah. And if you want to discipline the doctor, issuing a formal complaint to the council, which is investigated, and then the doctor would be disciplined, and to serve as deterrence for the other doctors
to take
extra caution. But also, if you want compensation, this could be arranged outside. Some countries like New Zealand and Sweden, they have a no-fault compensation, where you cannot sue the doctor because it's not a problem with one doctor. It's always a team that's managing. So you can't sue one person. So you have a no-fault compensation where if you're a victim of medical negligence, the compensation is given and an action is taken without court.
That's interesting. Yeah. So would you want Uganda to adopt that?
Of course, I would want.
The policies of New Zealand.
Of course, it has its challenges because it gives a blanket, a blanket compensation for so many cases, and sometimes the compensation may be way less, but it's faster because look at this: how many people can afford, for starters, to identify that this is negligence, 2, to get a lawyer, 3, to endure the courts, you understand, and then 3-4 years you get the compensation.
Yeah,
very few people.
Yeah,
and in this case, the doctor may not be disciplined because all this time is innocent till proven otherwise. You understand? But if we had a no-fault compensation, people would be compensated in time for the negligence, and the doctors would be disciplined in time.
Wow. Okay, Meddie, thanks. I think we've tried to exhaust medical negligence. Any final words for viewers?
I think it's easier to assign blame in retrospect. When events have already happened, it's easier to take the higher moral stand and say, you should have done this, you should have done this. But we know within the heat of the moment, things can go wrong. And medicine offers benefits and risks, and you cannot take one without the other.
True.
So we need to be understanding. Doctors need to be very cautious, exercise the maximum, exercise the standard of care.
And lawyers need to make money. Meddie, there's someone screaming to me from the viewers telling me that you need to start up a YouTube channel. They are really impressed with what you're doing. And viewers, I told Meddie to begin a YouTube channel. Meddie, no one is doing this in Uganda. I need to call you out.
I need an expensive phone to shoot these videos. I'm kidding.
Meddie, guys even shoot with Technos and they have 1 million viewers. I don't even know who that is.
I don't even have a Techno.
Viewers, wouldn't you agree? Maybe you can leave it in the comment section. For those who are new to my channel, feel free to hit the subscribe button. Once again, Meddie, we're really happy to have you on the channel. The viewers would want to see more collabos with me and you. I'm sure they want to see med school versus law school. I think they want to see that. By the way, which one is harder?
I've only been to one.
And
it was interesting.
Not exactly hard.